Hello, writers. Come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Mykela. I'm very glad to have you here on my channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today, we are going to discuss a few terms or ideas, and then we will add to your cave stories. Our first term is ameliorate. Ameliorate is, as a verb, means to make a bad or unsatisfactory situation better, more tolerable, or improved. It often implies enhancing oppressive conditions or lessening the severity of a problem. Now, in our writings, and depending on our genres, things in our stories can get bad or evil or vile. In some of the stories I've read and am reading, the writers push their characters beyond tolerable pain and physical limitations, like broken bones or joints out of socket. So then these writers give their characters a tonic or anodyne to ameliorate the pain of the situation. In the book I'm currently reading by Charlene Harris, The Julius House, Rose's husband hired bodyguards for her to keep her safe or to ameliorate the situation. In another book I'm currently reading by Jasmine Moss, Psycho Beast, Molly just injects some drug into Sadie so she can finish the last round of fights she has in the initiation into the mafia. And this mafia is in the beast realm. Excuse me. So, she was supposed to do 100 fights. Sadie has what she calls the numb, to make it to where she kind of just doesn't feel the pain so much. And the numb speaks to her in her mind and tells her, move left, move right, kick this, do that. So, but the numb only lasts so long. So, it lasted for like 99 fights and shut off. And Molly realized that, and Molly was like her coach or whatever to keep her, go, you got to get up, you got to do this. So Molly, in between the 99th and the 100th fight, Molly just injected her with some kind of stimulant or drug or something so she can finish the initiation. And she wasn't given a choice about this initiation. They escaped the Fey realm. They ended up here. They were brought in front of the Dawn. The Dawn said, you're going to get initiated. There's 3 things that you have to do. So, they are doing this initiation. Now, in real life, can we think of small things to ameliorate things like protective goggles when sawing wood, or gloves when dealing with something hot or something germy, or a seatbelt when riding in a car? But there are other things to ameliorate as safety as well, such as sidearms. We have friends that help us ameliorate stress. I'm so stressed and I'm thinking of it and my mind is whirling. And then I have a friend come and they think about it this other way, or they say something. So we have friends to ameliorate stress. We have therapists to ameliorate couples in a volatile marriage. Maybe they think they're heading to a divorce, and the therapist can ameliorate the situation so they don't have to go through the divorce, or maybe the divorce isn't as nasty. Now, as writers, I'm sure we can think of many things to ameliorate the tension or danger for our characters. Of course, we want to stress our characters and our readers enough to spike the tension beforehand and keep that ticking clock going. I'm sure I've seen a movie or 2, probably at least 2, where the fight is in some factory or, manufacturing plant or something, and one of the protagonists is tied up and on the belt, and they're going into an oven, or they're going into a chopping machine or some other danger. And the second protagonist fights, fights off the antagonist and makes it to the switch to turn off the machine. Flipping that switch ameliorates the situation. The belt stops, whatever. In Harry Potter, the bus was speeding through the town. Shoo, 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 shoo. And it was speeding through the town, and they were going to there was 2 other buses coming towards them, and they were going to crash into both the buses. But the amelioration was that the bus became skinny. All of a sudden, it fit, and, it just shrank, zipped through space, and then went back out. So the magic of the bus ameliorated the situation. Now, if you're writing a story in a school setting and a bully is about to beat up or kill another student, the amelioration could be the entrance of a teacher or a principal. Of course, the bully could make motions so the other character knows the fight will happen later. So the teacher ameliorates the immediate situation, but the tension for the character that the bully was going to beat or kill is still there. That character will constantly be looking over his or her shoulder, but he or she has a moment to think or plan, that kind of thing, or calling some extra friends or whatever. We as writers create problems for our characters, and we need to ameliorate them or solve them. Or our characters need to ameliorate them or solve them. So leave a comment on something you've used in your life that has ameliorated a difficult or tense situation you had to handle. Leave a comment on something in a show, book, or movie that has helped the characters ameliorate the situation. It could be something simple, like in Three's Company. The 3 needed more money for their rent. This was like a common thing. They always needed more money. They needed more money for rent, and suddenly somebody asked Jack to cater something, and just in time. So he caters the event, he gets the money, and he pays his rent. Now, our next word is vigorous. Vigorous as an adjective to describe someone or something that is physically strong, healthy, energetic, and full of force. It indicates intense, robust activity or a high level of vitality. Some synonyms are energetic, robust, dynamic, lively, powerful, strong, healthy, lusty, vital, spirited, tough, capable, athletic, peppy, mighty, brisk, and several more. Some antonyms are sluggish, feeble, weak, dull, faint, lethargic, listless, torpid, delicate, frail, weakened, infirm, tired, effete, and impotent. However you say that word, impotent. We have quite a few antonyms with this word, so that is good as well. Antonyms can help us to put in some contrast, right? And that's what we started with our cave, was we did contrast of the mood, but you can contrast anything. So when you put in contrast, it kind of helps people understand things a little better, or as opposed to this, like maybe one thing is very easy to see, the other is not as easy to see. So having that contrast will help see, the degree to opposites or whatever. Now, how can we use vigorous in our stories? Could a character scrub vigorously to get their blood out of their clothes so another character doesn't notice and thus doesn't know or guess the happenings? That's an easy one. I watch true crime. There's a lot of that. Could a detective... And the thing is, these people, they go to Amazon or CVS or Walmart and they buy the supplies to clean with their credit card on camera and stuff. And a lot of times they do it after the death, so it can get kind of obvious. Not necessarily they're vigorously scrubbing, but if we're writers, we're going to be writing about the vigorously scrubbing. But the detectives look at that. And now, on the detective side, could a detective vigorously scour a crime scene for clues? Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be scrubbing necessarily. Their vigorous is going to be going through every tiny piece of information. Another easy one, right? So both of those are easy to think about and to add to our stories. Now, in the story, Psycho Beast, one of Sadie's opponents was vigorously punching her and then kicking her in her ribs when she fell. So it was vigorous. They were in these boxing rings, and he was just going, choom, 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 vigorously. He wasn't letting up. He wasn't letting her stand. He wasn't doing anything. He was just vigorously beating the crap out of her. Now, when Roe bought the Julius family house, I didn't put house on there. Anyway, I know it's a house. The Julius family house, she thought, okay, sorry. Oops, what did I do? When Roe thought the Julius family I don't know what hang on, let me do a undo on this and see what the word was before. Okay, there we go. I got it back. Sorry about that. Okay, so Roe is in the Aurora Cheat Garden murder mysteries. She thought that the family must be somewhere in the house she purchased. So they didn't find them at a bus. Like, the crime happened like 6 years before she bought the house. The police didn't find them at a bus station. Their cars were in the driveway. They had sent the dogs around the field. They didn't do an aerial scan, but they had the dogs and all this stuff. So she thought the family must be somewhere in the house she purchased. She and another character in the story vigorously measured the entire 2-story, looking for like missing space. They measured inside, they measured outside. They tried to make sure the difference was more, you have 2x4s in there, so there's that 4 inches or whatever, a little bit more than 4 inches when you have the sheetrock on one side and the siding on the other. But anyway, so she's looking for this missing space she got really vigorous because there seemed to be a missing space up in the chimney went up through the attic, and the attic chimney seemed to be bigger, so they punched through the chimney, punched through the rock, the bricks of the chimney. They found a doll there. But she's just trying so vigorously to find these people because that's what Roe likes to do. She's into true crime. In the story Hounded by Kevin Hearn, Atticus vigorously avoids touching the hands of witches or letting them get his blood. So if a witch, holds out her hand to shake to make a deal or what, he's just gonna, it's nice to meet you. I'm not touching you. He's vigorously aware of that. And it's not like he kind of tried to act casually, but he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And he will remember something in his past that taught him not to do that because of something that happened to one of his friends or somebody that he knew. So he vigorously avoids touching the hands of witches or letting them get his blood. Now, if I told you someone wrote vigorously, then he or she, and did they write a lot? Because it was vigorous, so they wrote a lot. They wrote all day, they wrote. Or did they write very fast and forcibly in the rush of heated anger? They just wrote something, right? So I could say they wrote vigorously because they wrote all day long, or I could say they wrote vigorously because they wrote fast and furious and forcibly. It's your story. It's your choice. Now, we don't want anything to be lethargic or humdrum or tired in our stories. So we need to add some vigor somewhere. Leave a comment on an area in your life that is pleasantly vigorous. Leave a comment on a scene in a show, book, or movie that is vigorous or has some vigor. And that brings us to our cave story. First, remember that all works shared on the channel are copyright protected. So there's no worries. If you send in your writings, then it proves that it's yours. So share your works by sending your writing to writewithmykela@gmail.com. And I look forward to reading your stories and writing prompts on the channel. Now, we are on part 37 of your cave story. We started working on the story in season 1, episode 5. I listed the rest of the episodes in the description below. You hit the little 3 dots and you hit the more, and it should be all there. When we started, we wrote about a peaceful cave first, and we set the mood. This mood is one of our tools in our toolbox, right? We have setting, we have theme, we have plot, we have protagonist, we have antagonist, we have mood. And there's probably some others that I didn't name off the top of my head, but we have all these tools in our toolbox. So we were working on mood. We set up a peaceful cave, and I told you to think about what brought you peace and relaxation, and we wrote. Then we contrasted the peaceful mood and wrote about a scary cave to compare and contrast the mood between the two. Now, I also listed the plot in the description below, and if you're starting today, that's perfectly fine. Send it in for us to read on the channel. And if you start today, we wrote 1 or 2 scenes with the cave, and then we went back and put a beginning in to kind of have a normal life beginning. So if you write your chapter 1 with the beginning of the normal activity, and then you go and watch that season 1, episode 25, it might not seem like it matches up because that first writing prompt is probably number 2 or 3 in the story. So, start today. That would be great. Send it in for us to read on the channel. To continue your writing on this, ask a question. Write a scene to answer it. Reread what you have written or what you wrote last time. Or you can read the whole thing and to kind of get into the flow of it to make sure it all flows. You can read what you wrote last time. You can stop and define your characters to yourself. Okay, this character, like if you read from the top and go down, you might find that your character has changed personalities. So then you need to stop and you need to define your characters to yourself. So you know their stories. You know their histories. You know what makes him or her tick. Ask yourself, what's the struggle for my main protagonist? What's the outcome I'm heading toward? What do I want to happen in the end? Have I made things too easy on my protagonist? Remember, the most important thing is to have fun with your writing. If you don't like your story, Edit it. Take out what you don't like. Enhance the parts you do. And see if you can create an intriguing protagonist with an active goal or problem and some high stakes and a ticking clock. Excuse me. You need those things to make a good story, along with interrelated events that build to a climax. Pause the video. Add to your cave story or the story that started with a scary cave, and then come back and I will read what I added. Welcome back, writers. Now, before we start, I did go back and read what I wrote last week. So, when I went back, I found that last week I had Commander Thurnall's name in 2 scenes, and he should have been in the first scene and not the second. We should have had Commander Nyson in the second. And I don't know how if I read it correctly or I didn't, but if I didn't, I apologize for any confusion. Now I will read what I wrote. Dr. Lyson had dressed in normal civilian clothes, and her group had headed to the library in town. The library had books and computers. Her group made it inside, but there were guards at every other aisle. Dr. Lyson didn't want to be too suspicious. She first went to the magazines, but she didn't find any medical journals. She was debating on whether or not to go to the books. She knew that many books were probably very old and some would be outdated. Then the ground shook below her and several books fell from shelves. The guards rushed out of the library to the street. Dr. Lyson exchanged glances with the other 2 members of her group. One motioned her over. On the screen seemed like some good information. It was an online medical journal, and the article was a month old. Dr. Lyson whispered, "Can you print it?" The other woman said that the printers required a debit card, but she could list things and pay cash at the counter. Dr. Lyson nodded and then headed to the medical section. As she was walking down the aisle, she realized that she specialized in certain things and didn't know enough about others. She grabbed several books and had them in her arms when her 2 companions returned. She whispered that she wanted to check out the books, but one of the companions told her that she had to be on the honor system because the soldiers had called back to lock down the town. Dr. Lyson nodded. The other 2 linked arms with Dr. Lyson and interlaced their hands. They linked away. When Dr. Lyson opened her eyes, dust was drifting down from above. She looked around and said, "I thought we couldn't get in the bunkers." Allie, one of the companions from Thrasher's bunker, said, "Well, we can't get in the main part of the bunkers, but we were working on this tunnel." She looked both ways to orient herself. "Come, let's go this way." They found crates of preserved food and other crates with gauze and needles and common medicines. Dr. Lyson set the books on top of a crate. Allie went to a locker and opened it. "And you may know everything in here, but it may help you in teaching Donata." She took a book from the locker, closed the door, and handed Dr. Lyson the book. The very thick book was a dictionary of medical terms. Dr. Lyson ran her hand over the cover of the book. She smiled. "Yes, indeed, this will be very helpful." Dr. Lyson looked around the small room and then looked at Allie. "Did you want to learn too?" Allie sighed. "I'm not very good at setting bones, and there are so many things to do in the underground that I'm not sure I have the time." "Enough said," said Dr. Lyson. "Did I see some index cards and writing utensils in the locker?" "Yes," replied Allie. She turned and gathered those. The group put 1 crate between each of them. Only 3 crates seemed a disappointment, but perhaps they could link back here again. Josie, the other companion, linked them away. This time they linked to the small patch of ground in the middle of the marsh. The dolphin leapt out of the water and dove back in. Dr. Lysa shook her head. I hope Maldrake's men never capture this joyful dolphin. Josie said, No kidding. I mean, I don't want them to either, but Jose will be heartbroken. The other three women laughed and then linked to the next spot. Brambert didn't feel the heaviness of the body. In his mind, he crossed his fingers, hoping he had linked out of his monster body. He opened his eyes, and the sight startled him. The monster body was on the floor below him. He gasped and was scared. But then he felt jerked down. He was in the monster body once again. Brambert rose up to his paws, walked in a circle, and lay back down. He was frustrated. He started to dip into depression, but a voice in his mind told him he was getting close to linking. Brambert didn't know if the voice was his inner voice cheering him on or it was something else. But he didn't feel like he had an inner cheerleader. He sighed and stretched out more. He faded back to sleep. Zalira jerked her head up from reading when Commander Thurnall, Jose, and Campton linked into the camp. And a minute after that, Commander Nison's group stood a few feet away from them. So Valera looked from one group to the other. She saw that Jose was hugging a box, and the box had a handle on top. She thought perhaps it was the C4. She looked at Commander Nison's group and wondered about the other people. Donata had told them they were going to see if more people wanted to leave the town, but she assumed that might take some time. Then, in front of the two groups, Dr. Lyson's group appeared, but they were sitting on the ground and not standing, and they had crates between them. Zalira got up and headed over. She didn't like that she had missed so many missions, so she wanted news. As she headed that way, Grant's group appeared before her. Zalira stopped short. She looked around, and she didn't see tape marking off the area. More groups linked back, and they started sharing news. Commander Nyson asked each group for their reports. Some had spoken with people willing, but they had to take care of things. Some had gone to the woods around Joe and Donnie's camp and have found a few more animals, which the children readily gathered to put in the pens they were building. Grant's group had actually gathered a huge pig from Maldrake's animal enclosure. Commander Thurnall asked, Was it always a pig? Everyone looked at him. Grant motioned for Jose. Test it. Jose nodded and headed off to get his scanner. Commander Thurnall said, I'm not eating any experiments. Everyone nodded. Zalira said, You don't think we should test the other animals too? Just because they weren't in an enclosure controlled by Maldrake doesn't mean someone didn't inject something in them. Commander Thurnall told Jose to test all their animals. Other groups reported that a blast interrupted their reconnaissance, to which Dr. Lyson said it had helped hers. Commander Thurnall told them about his group setting up the C4. He said, I knew no group was supposed to be too close, and I knew that a blast in their compound would disrupt things. Next, we need to get close to the troops. They will be talking. Everyone agreed. Commander Thurnall also told them that he suspected that Maldrake's people had probably found their last camp by now, so they needed to set up perimeter alarms. They agreed and started planning again. Okay, writers, that's what I'm adding today. That was over 1,100 words. I had written some, and then I was like, how many words was that? I highlighted it to find out. And before I looked at the number that Word gives me, I think that's probably about 700. It was 770. So, 770 something at that point. 772, 77, I don't know. But it was 770 something at that point. So, I was very pleased with my estimation. Anyway, I added the next scene and got over 1,100. Then you see, one scene gave me like 400 words or 330. So, writing is so much fun. And you can meet your goals. If you're stuck, then read your story from the beginning. Take notes on where you need to weave in loose threads. Like if I don't do anything with Bramber, then I go back and I read and be like, oh, what happened to Bramber? So I have to weave in all my threads. I still have the new C4 that they don't know how to work with. So there's still things that I need to weave in. Leave a comment on Bramber floating above his body or above the monster body. Leave a comment on Dr. License linking away with library books and artificially checking them out. Leave a comment on if you think the blast will help or hinder the people thinking of leaving. Leave a comment on how much you think the blast disrupted or interrupted things. Like I said, writing is so much fun. You can go anywhere and do anything. Don't look at the blank page. You can go in the blank page. There's nothing there, right? Well, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't look at the blank page. Close your eyes and think. Just imagine things and write what you see in your mind. Don't forget to send what you just wrote to me to read on the channel at writewithmykela@gmail.com. I would love to know what you found in your caves, outside your caves. I would love to meet your characters, all that fun stuff. Join me Friday for our book club discussion on 1984. Join me Friday for chapter 14 of Elementals. Join me Tuesday for some jargon. I think I'll give us at least a couple of weeks before we start another writing prompt, especially because I'm trying to finish the story for season 6. So if you have a writing prompt idea, then let me know. Visit my website, bymykela.com, read some character bios, send your unpolished writings and chapters to writewithmykela@gmail.com. Leave comments on your favorite characters. I am still accepting chapters from any of the shared plots. If you hit the like and subscribe and the bell, then other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.